Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Our organization is Million Kids, MILLION, millionkids.org. We're not 1 million, we're not 8 million, we're just simply millionkids.org. Because more than 1 million kids in the world are trafficked each year, and that's why the name of it is. We serve as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. That means that for the last 12 years, we've dealt with real cases. We report over there to Sheriff Chad Bianco, who is a hero of mine. He's made a tremendous difference in Riverside County in the subject of human trafficking. When everybody else was like closing down and defunding police, he doubled down and doubled the size of our human trafficking task force. And the same is true of our DA, Mike Hestron, where he, along with the Board of Supervisors, set up an additional RSET unit for child sex crimes. So we're very, very fortunate here in Riverside County to have a crackerjack team of people, both law enforcement and prosecutors, that literally go to the mat to protect our kids and protect those people that are preyed upon out there, especially in light of human and sex trafficking, and also online crimes like sextortion and social media exploitation. Well, we have an important guest today, and I am thrilled to have him on. Before I start and introduce you to Tyson Mccoy, he is the assistant DA out of Kern County, and they are introducing and supporting the introduction of a very important piece of legislation, SB 1042, that will literally make human trafficking a serious and violent crime. Believe it or not, it is not now a violent crime in the state of California. But before I get started with Assistant DA Tyson Mccoy, I want to tell you about a case that just broke where we might be able to assist if you know anything more about it. There is an article, there's several newspapers locally that have reported this. This one here happens to be with the Riverside County News Source, and Trevor Montgomery is the author on that, and someone I admire greatly. He is a straightforward reporter, tells it like it is, and those are hard to find these days. So if you get a chance, go to Riverside County News Source. I really appreciate Trevor Montgomery. They're mixing up my names. Okay, the headline: Victorville man arrested after using dating app to sexually assault and rob Riverside victims. They are searching for other victims. So what has happened? The individual that is involved in this, and keep in mind, he is arrested, not prosecuted. So this is alleged at this point because he does get his day in court and does get due process. His name is Dewan Ramon Jones, and he is from Victorville. He has been charged with sexually assaulting and robbing a Riverside victim. So what has happened is he has gone on a popular dating app, and he apparently has done this to multiple victims. And that is the reason why I'm taking the time for it today, is we want to see if any of you are aware of his activities or have been involved in something like this, especially through an online dating app. What happened there is that based on the allegations, the suspect internet activities, they believe more victims were coming forward. This is being done by the department's sexual assault unit out of the city of Riverside police detectives. Great people over there. Officer Ryan Railsback and I work a lot together, and he is a hero. He works heavily with kids that have been arrested, and I tried to support his work. So what happened here, they served a search warrant related to ongoing sexual assault investigation on Kimberly Drive out of Victorville. And as a result of this warrant, while conducting a joint investigation with the Riverside Police Department, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, and the San Bernardino County's Police Department Specialized Crime Unit, they learned that Dewan Jones was active on dating apps and social media where he was meeting women online. He then would set up meetings. During one of the encounters, that it is believed he preyed upon women less likely to report to law enforcement, such as youth and sex workers. During one of these times, he actually was carrying a weapon. So he has been picked up. He is remaining in custody in lieu of a $275,000 bail in Riverside. So if you know anything about the activity where you may have sexual assault from a dating site here that might involve Mr. Jones, DeJuan Ramon Jones out of Victorville, then they're asking for you to come forward. And you can contact the Riverside Police Detective, Melissa Brazil. You can contact her at 951-353-7950. If you're up in Victorville area in San Bernardino County, then be sure and contact the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, and that is Deputy Edward Oliveros, and his phone number is 760-241-2911. All of this will be posted at millionkids.org and also at Million Kids Facebook site. And so we will also be doing an e-blast out of it. If you were unable to get all that and you want to be connected, please contact me at Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. Now let's get on with our guest, because that was important, but this is really important. Our guest today is Deputy DA Tyson Mccoy from Kern County District Attorney's Office. Tyson, we only have about 3.5 minutes left because I just took all of that. Sorry about that. But anyway, can you introduce yourself and maybe just give some background to our listeners about who you are?
Sure, and thank you, Opal, for having me on and for bringing this important public safety issue to your listeners. So my name is Tyson Mccoy. I was a Southern California native, grew up in Irvine in Southern California, went to law school down in Fullerton. Shortly before or after I became an attorney, I was hired on and became a DA and started working at the Kern County District Attorney's Office, where I work now. I worked at the Kern County DA's office for about 5 years, a little more. I prosecuted all types of crimes, predominantly focused on gang crimes while I was here the first time. I left that office, the Kern County DA, went and worked at the San Diego City Attorney, and then went up. I did some stuff on private for just a few months, then went up to Merced and was a DA up in Merced and became the chief deputy up in Merced County. And it's in Merced where I really started to dig in to human trafficking. I started to really look into it and work on building investigations there, prosecuting cases there, training officers, nonprofit groups on human trafficking. And as that started to take off, I decided to come back to Kern County to work for Cynthia Zimmer, who's the DA here. She was my former boss in the gang unit when I was here the first time, and she's very passionate about human trafficking. And so I wanted to come back here, and we wanted to expand and grow human trafficking in Kern County and do a lot of things also on the state level. So that's just kind of a brief summary. I work with state, federal, local law enforcement officers on human trafficking investigations, trainings. I also work with church groups, nonprofits, victim advocate groups, survivors, to help develop the collaboration amongst law enforcement so that we have kind of a united front, so to speak, in helping identify and locate these victims and bringing their perpetrators to justice.
First of all, my apologies. You're not the assistant district attorney. You're the deputy district attorney, homicide and human trafficking prosecution. So I want to make sure and get that right. I talk to you often enough. I think I know you, and then I overlook the formality there. So forgive me. But
no
I'm very grateful to have you on, because a lot of people in the Inland Empire don't realize that a lot of the human trafficking that takes place here in Riverside County is often starts in Fresno or Merced or up by Sacramento, and the victims are moved around. You get our cases, we get your cases. And so that for one is one reason why our listeners need to realize just how real this is. Well, Tyson, we're up against that clock here, so stay with us, please, folks, and we will be right back shortly as we get into SB 1042.
Listen up, folks. You no longer have to drive out of the IE for a great restaurant experience. The Toasted Barrel, an upscale casual steakhouse located in Corona, has been winning award after award for their great diverse menu, service, ambience, wine, and cocktails. Customers call the Barrel the perfect date night. Inland Empire Magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant 4 years in a row. Wine Spectator recognized the Toasted Barrel's wine program for their award of excellence. Toasted Barrel is famous for their certified Angus beef, prime, Wagyu, and Kobe steaks, and they have some of the best pasta and seafood around. With happy hour and daily specials every day of the week, their appetizers and drink selections are the best around. Live music starts every Friday and Saturday at 5:30. Planning a dinner party, wedding rehearsal, family gathering, or holiday party? Look up Toasted Barrel online and make your reservation today.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited, Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and our guest today is Tyson Mccoy. He is the Deputy District Attorney out of Kern County DA's office. And one of the reasons, I had several reasons why we wanted to have Tyson on as our guest today. One is that there is a bill out there that I myself, and I know Tyson also wants to introduce to you. But this is not just an educational kind of broadcast. We're here because we want your involvement. This is a bill that you can do something about. This isn't just another news announcement. We're here to engage you to help us. And we're on a very short time frame. In other words, if you're going to do this, we need you to do that this weekend, okay? Because it's Saturday afternoon, and all of this, if we're going to do it, has to be accomplished by the end of the day on March 28th. So I'm going to ask you to pay close attention here about it. So basically, SB 1042 will make the law in California. The penal codes will recognize human trafficking as a serious and violent crime. And right now, it is not. So I wanted Tyson to just kind of share with you some of his experiences of working with human trafficking victims, whether it's sex or labor trafficking, and whether they're adult or child, or whether they're male or female. And the reason this is so important is that his cases there in the central part of California often are the same cases that we deal with down here in Riverside and San Bernardino counties. So with that, Tyson, share with us some of your experiences about human trafficking.
Yes. Human trafficking, it's one of those crimes that I think has gone kind of under the radar as it relates to kind of the specific facts. And what I see, in cases that I've prosecuted, in talking with other agencies about cases that they've worked on and investigated, is the crime is just vicious. And I'm going to focus in particular about sex trafficking. That's my primary focus when I prosecute cases is the sex trafficking side of human trafficking.
Right.
And I think right off the bat, one thing that's really important for everyone to understand is that victims of sex trafficking are brought in very young. So it's most likely when someone sees an adult sex trafficking victim, that victim has been brought in as a child or at a young age, and they've been doing this for several years. And what these traffickers do is they manipulate the need to be accepted and loved and cared for that they may not be receiving at home or from other people, and then they exploit it, twist it, and then start to abuse those through that avenue. And what I see is, we see things from straight kidnapping, where people are kidnapped on the track or the blade, which your listeners are probably familiar. That that's a street term of where this happens. They use cigarettes to burn their victims. They'll deprive them of food. They'll deprive them of sleep. They'll make them work 365 days a year, even if they're sick, if they're on their cycle. They will make them work nonstop. They have daily quotas that the victims have to meet before the traffickers will allow them to get basic necessities like food, clothing, being able to take a rest. I think, so they'll physically abuse them, they'll beat them, they'll use food and money to manipulate them. I think, a lot of people don't realize, you see movies like Taken, things like that, but the victims of sex trafficking, they don't control really any aspect of their life. The money, their IDs, everything is held in the hands of the trafficker. And so they can't act and do anything without the permission of the trafficker. And really the physical abuse ranges. I mean, it's psychological from threatening their family. There's cases where the victims have had their babies. So a trafficking victim has a young baby. And then the trafficker holds the baby hostage and says, I'm not going to let you see your baby until you sleep with 15 men. And then if you don't sleep with these 15 men, you're not seeing your baby. And so it's an extremely violent, extremely vicious crime. And it's so under the radar, so to speak. It's not like you don't hear about the trafficking, like you hear about shootings a lot on the news, you hear about gang crime, that kind of thing. But human trafficking does not hit the media as much. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why people just aren't aware of it.
I think, too, that the nature of the crime is so vile that people don't want to hear about it. That's my usual experience. Or then in other cases, it's so, they get it in the media and they make it kind of like melodramatic or something. This is a crime. These girls can't get free. I mean, I've been in this business 12 years, and once you're in, you're in. And a lot of people don't, because they'll say, this girl's alone in a motel room with a guy. Why doesn't she run? Well, first of all, she gets abused by the sex buyer. That's the first problem. The second problem is she's never free. They keep her. She gets almost nothing. I mean, people will give us backpacks to give to the victims, but the victims usually aren't allowed to keep them. And, they're moved from their family. They're degraded. They're put on media where they're, putting out in porn sites and like that. And they feel like there is no way out. And it is an extremely violent crime.
No, and you're exactly right. I mean, that's often, people often say that, why don't they just run away or run to the police? And there's a bit of that, besides the physical violence, that's kind of a, for lack of a better term, a Stockholm syndrome, where there's a strong tether psychologically. They fear, the traffickers will tell them, if you tell anybody, I'll kill your sister. I'll go after your family. They'll pull up pictures of the traffickers if they have Facebook or Instagram, and they'll be like, I know where they live, you know? And so they play these whole manipulative games where it's like they don't really have a choice to run sometimes, in the sense of they are so afraid. And frankly, a lot of these victims, what people don't realize too, have come from situations where they were abused in their home.
Yes.
I had one survivor tell me, for a lot of trafficking victims, they're not running to something when they enter trafficking. They're running from something.
Yes, the numbers are staggering on that. 60% of kids in commercial sex, I'm talking about minors, come from foster care. And about 80 to 90% of sex trafficking victims were previously violated.
Yes. And so it's a very complex situation. And these poor young kids, I mean, you have to think, you know, when you're 11, 12, 13, 14, and you're dealing with grown men who are trained in manipulation, and you're super vulnerable as it is because of your situation, you don't really stand a chance in making, you know, logical decisions to get yourself free, so to speak.
Yeah, you'll often feel like there's no other alternative. Well, the reason I wanted to have Tyson on is that there is a bill that is being presented that I want to go into in the next section. And we need your help. This is a bill that is just now being offered out. And we're going to ask you to go online and click a link and show your support. And if you're willing and you have time and you're capable of doing that, if it works for you, we will also show you how you can write a letter of support and email it before Monday night. So that's why we're doing this today. It is not just to let you know this is a terrible crime. It is to let you know that in the state of California, human trafficking, whether it's sex or labor trafficking, and labor trafficking can be very vile also, whether it's sex or labor trafficking right now is not considered a serious or a violent crime by the official penal code. And we're going to ask you to help us support a bill and introduce a bill that will make human trafficking a serious and violent crime. And that's why we have Tyson on today, because the bill started out of their area, and we are trying to get the attention of everyone across the state of California to be able to take this on. So what we're going to do when we come back here is we're going to talk about this bill and show you what you can do. You know, so many people say, oh, this is just awful, but I don't know what I can do. Well, oftentimes there's not a lot you can do, but those days are over. There is something you can do that will make a difference. And I'm going to give you a step-by-step process along with Tyson to show you how to do this. So this show is Exploited Crimes and Technology. We're up against that break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the darknet will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton. I'm the host of your show, and today we have a very special guest, and this is Deputy District Attorney Tyson Mccoy. He's with the Homicide and Human Trafficking Prosecutions Unit of Kern County DA's Office or District Attorney's Office. And the reason we wanted Tyson on is a bill is being introduced called SB 1042, and we're going to need your help, and we're going to need it quickly, like in the next 3 days. So with that, Tyson, first of all, talk a little bit about the bill and how bills get accepted and implemented and like that.
Okay, great. So I'll start off with the bill, just the basics of the bill. This is really not a complex bill. All this bill is doing is it's adding human trafficking in all forms, so sex and labor, to the list of serious crimes and the list of violent crimes. And so there's no, secret like language of adding small provisions here and there. What that will do is when a crime is listed as a serious or violent crime under California law, it makes it a strike for purposes of the three strikes law. And so this will have a big impact on traffickers who are repeat offenders in the system. So
I think most of our people, if it's like me, you had no idea that a violent crime like this was not considered a crime that would fit under the three strikes law. I think all of us are kind of blown away by that.
Yeah, that's been the sentiment when I've talked to. So I've reached out to hundreds of people as I've been pushing this bill out and information about it, and the universal reaction is just shock that how can this be not considered serious and violent under the law? And what's interesting too is that in 2012, I'm sure you're familiar with Proposition 35, which it increased punishments for trafficking. That was the most successful proposition in California history. 81% of California voters voted to pass that increasement in punishment. And so there's really not a dispute that this is a bipartisan supported issue within the public. I talk to people on both sides of the aisles, so to speak, in the public, and they're all for this. It's a little bit of a different story, though, in Sacramento. And that kind of leads me into the process, because the process is very important, and how your listeners can help is very critical. So unlike a proposition where people can vote with their feet, so to speak, on a bill that works its way through the legislative process, we have to get support very early, very fast, and it has to get communicated to the Public Safety Committee. So this bill was introduced in the Senate, and so there's 5 gatekeepers in the California Senate that will determine whether a law that affects criminal justice will be allowed to proceed or whether it will die right out of the gate.
Are you serious?
No, and I don't think most people in California know this. So the Public Safety Committee is made up of 5 senators, 4 of them Democrats, 1 Republican, 2 out of LA, 2 out of the Bay Area, and then 1 Republican out of San Bernardino, Yucaipa, Riverside, and some areas out there.
Can you name names? Is that okay?
Sorry, what was that? I didn't catch that.
Can you name names? Is that okay?
Yes, and I've got them listed, and I apologize if I mispronounce any of these people's names, but the senators are Senator Stephen Bradford out of the Los Angeles, like Long Beach, Inglewood areas down there, Senator Rosalie Ochoa Ba, who's out of the Riverside, San Bernardino, Yucaipa area. So that's out in the area where your listeners, live. Can
you say that name again?
Let me spell it because I'm just going to butcher it how I say it. It's Rosilie, and then Ochoa, and then the last Bogh. That's going to be the senator out in your area, and she's the vice chair on this committee. Then you have you've got three others. You got Senator Kamlager, Senator Skinner, and Senator Weiner, and two of those are out of the Bay, Skinner and Weiner, and one Kamlager is also out of LA. And so these five senators are the gatekeepers. They can kill a bill from not even let it go to a Senate vote, and basically it dies before it can even get traction. And that's where this bill is right now. It's going to go to the Public Safety Committee on April 5th, and it's a simple majority. 3 of those 5 say no, it's dead. It doesn't move forward. 3 of the 5 say yes, it moves forward to an Appropriations Committee, and then it has to pass that committee, and then it can go to a full vote on the floor in the Senate, and then start working its way also through the Assembly. That's the basic structure, but I think it's really important that your listeners understand, if we don't get this 3 votes on April 5th from 3 of these 5, this thing's dead. And so I don't know if you want to talk about kind of action items.
Yeah, maybe you can. I don't have this up right now on Million Kids because this is the first I understood how this works. But maybe you can get me some contact information for them so that, especially many people in our audience are from the Redlands, Yucaipa, San Bernardino, Riverside area. Many of them are. And so I will put on our website and on our Facebook page action items 1, 2, 3. If you're in this area, contact this. But of course, we will start with having them sign up for the link. But that we might be able to influence the local people. I'm fairly certain we're not going to make any headway with Senator Weiner because we know the background of that. But that I think is an important thing. So I just want to reiterate here that right now, human trafficking is not classified as a violent or a serious crime. And without getting too deep in the weeds here, maybe we can talk about just a minute about how this will amend the penal code to add that in. So it is a serious and violent crime and will be considered when somebody is issuing a sentence involving 3 strikes. So can you address that penal code part of that real quick?
Sure. So there's 2 sections that would be amended to add human trafficking in those sections. The first is Penal Code Section 1192.7, and that lists the 42 crimes that are defined as, quote, serious under California law. So this bill would add human trafficking into the list of those 42 crimes. And then the other section is Penal Code Section 667.5C, which lists the violent crimes. And this bill would add or insert human trafficking into the list of those 23 crimes. And so that is pretty much this bill in a nutshell. Those 2 penal code sections would add human trafficking into those 2 lists.
So for our listeners, what I'm going to do right here, we're going to stop before we go into the last segment. I want to give you a couple of links and a couple of calls to action on what you can do. At the very least, this weekend, I would advise you to go to a website to electronically sign a petition supporting the bill. That's the HTTPS, and the site is SB, like Senate Bill, 1042.news/support. So in case you're writing that down, I'll also have it on our website, SB1042.news/support. And we'll also do that in an e-blast. At the very least, if we could ask you to go on, because as they're presenting this bill, what they want to be able to say is 5,000 people, 10,000 people are asking for this. So it's going to be a lot harder for them to be able to say, well, nobody really wants this and we're going to move on. So we're going to need your help to go on to SB1042.news/support. Now, in the next segment, I am going to ask those of you that are with an organization or that you just want to We're going to ask you to write a letter of support by email, has to be there Monday night. And I'm going to give you an email address on where to do that. And so this is how we need your support. This is very, very serious. It is just a travesty, in my opinion, that in the state of California, that human trafficking is not considered serious or violent. We can change that. You can change that. I need your help. Stay tuned. One last segment. Be right back.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens, and she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty, 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and our guest today is Tyson Mccoy, the Deputy DA for Kern County District Attorney's Office. We're talking about a bill where we need your help, and we need it quickly. We only have 3 days to do this. They're introducing SB 1042. If you want to support that bill, go to sb1042.news/support. So in closing, one of the things, Tyson, and I really wanted to get across to you is you all on your normal day of life may not see human trafficking. I don't believe it's behind every bush, However, California is the #1 state. And as most of my listeners know, there is a bill pending out there that is SB 357 that is already signed by the Assembly and the appropriations committees and the Senate. And they're just waiting for Governor Newsom's signature. And it will basically make it so law enforcement can't intervene in street prostitution. And so this bill is really, really important because who is going to help this SB 1042, where we can make that bill a 3 strikes crime qualified bill. You can make it serious. You can make it violent. You can classify it as it is. That's the reason why we need your action now. When we see these victims, it is horrendous. And I'm just going to stop a minute and let Tyson share some of that with you, because we see this. You don't necessarily see it, but when we see these people, you look at it and say, how on earth can this not be serious or violent, especially if it's your child?
Yeah, and I think people need to kind of get a picture in their mind of what kind of these victims look like as far as why this is so serious and violent, in the sense of these girls are forced to sleep. There's 13, 14, 15-year-old girls. There's also older, trafficking victims that we know too. But they're forced to sleep with upwards of 15 men a day. Generally, the accepted quota is about 10 to 15 men a day. They're supposed to make about $1,500 a day for their trafficker, which, working 365 days a year, they pull in 500,000 plus for a trafficker at that rate. And so these
let me interrupt there a minute. A lot of these traffickers are gangs and cartels. They're using our kids that get lured in to make money, and that victim doesn't get to keep the money. That money is often going back out as money laundering for organized crime.
Yeah, no, that's exactly true. And you bring up a good point. So, I mean, these gangs, we see it with gangs. We see it also with people who are not gang members, but they've learned that why sell a drug or a gun when I can resell a human 15, 20 times a day and keep that commodity for tomorrow. And so that's why they are so motivated to maintain total physical, psychological control over these victims and do everything they can to break them down where they're mere property. I mean, that's why they tag them. I mean, these victims are like cattle for the trafficker. I mean, they literally brand them with their name on their face or their neck. They don't have any value to the trafficker other than to be slept with by the trafficker, to be sold to the highest bidder by the trafficker, and they will use whatever means they have to, whether physical or psychological, to maintain that revenue coming in to the trafficker. And these girls are going from city, and there's also boys, but I'm referencing girls just because we see a lot of girls. They're going from city to city to city to city. So, a lot of times we, in addition to being threatened and beaten and abused by their trafficker and psychologically abused, they're like in a different city every day. They don't even know where to go get help because the traffickers got them in a different motel, and then they're going up all through California and then off to Las Vegas, high desert, everywhere. So
they don't know what name they're being sold under, and they're not sure where they're at. What I want to do at this point is I want to give a 2-step process of what you can do to help the state of California to make these serious and violent crimes. We have to get this bill introduced, and we have to get it to pass on to the next level. So here's what I need. Step 1, at the very minimum, please go to https:/SB, or just go to SB 1042. That's Senate Bill 1042.news/support. And you can electronically sign the petition supporting the bill. And if you would help us spread that word, tell people at your church, tell people at your sorority, at your whatever you belong to, your next door neighbor, get as many people as you can to go on and sign on to that bill. You can only sign once, and you have to be from California. The other thing that we can do is have you send a letter of support of SB 1042 to Elizabeth.Watson at sen.ca.gov. Elizabeth Watson is the director, the legislative director for the senator that wrote this bill. And we are going to have on Million Kids' site, we'll have some sample support letters. Now, you don't have to make it exactly like that. You can just simply say, I support SB 1042 to make these crimes serious and violent crimes. It can be that simple. And we're going to, one more time, we're going to have this on our website. Send that to Elizabeth.Watson, WATSON, at sen.ca.gov, like government, G-O-V. And you can go on our site and see that. So the more letters of support we can get, the better, because it shows that people care about this bill. And it'll be harder for some of these senators that normally would just look the other way to turn that down. If we can show serious support, so either and or sign the petition and do a letter of support. If you have any more questions, I'll help you. email me at opal, O-P-A-L, at millionkids.org. That's O-P-A-L at millionkids.org. And I'll connect you to all of this. We're also going to be doing an e-blast out there to all of our followers, trying to get you to do it. If you know the senators out of Yucaipa or San Bernardino that they talked about, please contact those people and let them know this is very important to you. Well, we're down to the last 3 minutes. Tyson, you're just a wealth of knowledge, and I want to compliment you on the work that you do to keep kids safe from predators and also to combat human trafficking. It isn't easy. I've worked in it 12 years. It's tough business. We got a couple of minutes. You want to take a minute or two? Anything left you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I just want to thank your audience for taking an interest in this. And in my opinion, human trafficking is the plague of our time.
Yep.
And if we don't start to stand now and start to stop this effort to decrim trafficking-related crimes and to start holding these traffickers accountable, we may lose this war. And
Yes.
This bill is tremendously important in damming up the effort to decriminalize and to make it difficult to catch traffickers. We are behind the 8 ball when it comes to the breadth of this crime, and we need to start getting ahead of it. And this bill would do wonders because it would tell traffickers, if you do this and you continue to do this, you're going to do serious time.
That's
and this
right.
is not acceptable in California.
Yeah. And, the other thing that's so important to me is that you see so many other, not in Riverside County, thank God, but district attorneys that just kind of overlook this 3 strikes and want to even do away with it. When you destroy a human being's life, like you do in human trafficking, you destroy their soul, you destroy their future, and you destroy whole families along with it. This is a family-oriented crime as people lose victims of trafficking in their family. And, to see these guys who are repeat offenders, who have, most pimps I know will have at least 5 girls, maybe 20 girls, and moving them around and taking their money and abusing them. And for the state of California to blatantly just look at it and go, well, no, it really shouldn't be considered serious and violent. If our society cannot label this kind of activity as serious and violent, where do we go from here? So thank you, Tyson, for joining us. I'm going to ask each and every one of you, please, to go to millionkids.org or write to me at opal@millionkids if you need more instruction. This must be done by Monday night. Go to sb1042.news/support and sign that petition. Help us write letters of support. Contact your local Congress or representative on here and let them know this bill needs to be presented. So I thank Tyson for joining us. This organization that brings you this show is Million Kids, MILLION. If you support our work financially and with your prayers, we appreciate you. If you want to donate, please go to millionkids.org, hit that donate button, or send us a check. I personally drive down there and pick them up myself. We love you. See you next Saturday at 3 o'clock on AM 590.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the darknet will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift, Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.